Today, you'll be listening to the book Brave Girl, Clara and the Shirtwaist Makers' Strike of 1909 by Michelle Markle. When you hear the sound, you will turn the page. When you hear this noise, you will pause the recording and complete the activities that are provided for you in the tub. Before you begin reading, you will complete activity number 1. Please remove activity 1 from the tub. Look at the list of vocabulary words. Cross out the words that you do not think will be found in this reading and circle the words that you think you will find. When you are finished with the activity, please place it in the purple folder and resume the recording. Please pause the recording and complete the activity now.
You should have completed activity number 1. If you have, continue on to the reading of The Brave Girl. Please open the book and turn to the first page. A steamship pulls into the harbor carrying hundreds of immigrants and a surprise for New York City. The surprise is dirt poor, just 5 feet tall, and hardly speaks a word of English. Her name is Clara Lemlich. This girl's got grit, and she's going to prove it. Look out, New York. Clara knows in her bones what is right and what is wrong. What's wrong begins a few weeks after the Lemlichs moved to their tenement in America. No one will hire Clara's father. They will, however, hire Clara. That's right, Clara. Companies are hiring thousands of immigrant girls to make blouses, coats, nightgowns, and other women's clothing. They earn only a few dollars a month, but it helps pay for food and rent. So instead of carrying books to school, many girls carry sewing machines to work. Clara becomes a garment worker. Please stop reading. Find activity 2 in the tub, pretend you are Clara, and design an outfit for someone to wear. What kinds of colors will you choose, and what kind of event will they wear these clothes to? You may use colored pencils, markers, or crayons to complete the activity. When you are finished with the activity, please place it in the purple folder and resume the recording. Please pause the recording and complete the activity now.
You should have completed activity number 2. If you have, continue on to the reading of Brave Girl. Please turn the page. From dawn to dusk, she's locked up in a factory. Rows and rows of young women bend over their tables, stitching collars, sleeves, and cuffs as fast as they can. Hurry up, the bosses yell. Rat-a-tat-tat, hisses Clara's machine. The sunless room is stuffy from all the bodies crammed inside. There are 2 filthy toilets, 1 sink, and 3 towels for 300 girls to share. Clara learns the rules. If you're a few minutes late, you lose half a day's pay. If you prick your finger and bleed on the cloth, you're fined. If it happens a second time, you're fired. The doors are locked, and you're inspected every night before you leave to be sure you haven't stolen anything from the factory. But Clara is uncrushable. She wants to read. She wants to learn. At the end of her shift, though her eyes hurt from straining in the gaslight and her back hurts from hunching over the sewing machine, she walks to the library. She fills her empty stomach with a single glass of milk and goes to school at night. When she gets home in the late evening, she sleeps only a few hours before rising again. As the weeks grind by, Clara makes friends with the other factory girls. At lunch, they share stories and secrets as if they were in school, where they belong. Clara smolders with anger, not just for herself, but for all the factory girls, working like slaves. This was not the America she'd imagined. Please stop reading. Find activities 3 and 4 in the tub. You will choose one of these activities to complete. For activity 3, think about how Clara is facing a problem. She has to work very hard for very little money, and the conditions at her work are not safe. What do you predict will be Clara's solution? What do you think will happen to solve her problem? Write your prediction below. For activity 4, think about one of the issues that Clara is fighting against, the rules of her workplace, how much she was paid, what would happen if she were late to work or bled on the material, the amount of time for her lunch break, and so on. Think about the rules in your life, at home, school, the classroom, and the playground. Do you think any of the rules are unfair? Have you ever tried to change a rule at home or school? Have you ever tried to stand up for something important to you? Write down a specific rule you'd like to change or a time you stood up for something important to you. When you are finished with one of the activities, please place it in the purple folder and resume the recording. Please pause the recording and complete one of the activities now.
You should have completed either activity 3 or 4. If you have, continue on to the reading of Brave Girl. Please turn the page. The men at the factory tell her they've been trying to get the workers to team up in a union. Then they'd strike, refuse to work until the bosses treat them better. But the men don't think the ladies are tough enough. Not tough enough because they're girls. Oh, yes, they are. Clara knows it. She'll show them. From then on, at the sewing tables and on the street corners, Clara urges the girls to fight for their rights. When the seamstresses are overworked, she says strike. When they're underpaid, she says strike. When they're punished for speaking up, she cries strike, and the girls do. Each time Clara leads a walkout, the bosses fire her. Each time she pickets, her life is in danger. The bosses hire men to beat her and the other strikers. The police arrest her 17 times. They break 6 of her ribs, but they can't break her spirit. It's shatterproof. Clara hides her bruises from her parents. A few days later, she's on the picket line again, and the other girls think, if she can do it, we can do it too. For weeks, the small strikes go on, but the bosses find other young women to do the work for the same low pay and long hours. We must do something bigger, thought Clara and the other union leaders. Something huge, a giant strike, at every garment factory in the city. The union holds a meeting. Throngs of workers pack the seats, the aisles, the walls. The hall thrums with excitement. Clara listens to speech after speech. The speakers, mostly men, want everyone to be careful. 2 hours pass. No one recommends a general strike. Finally, the most powerful union leader in the country goes up to the podium. Not even he proposes action. So Clara does. That's right, Clara. She calls out from the front of the hall. The crowd lifts her to the stage where she shouts in Yiddish, I have no further patience for talk. I move that we go on to a general strike, and she starts the largest walkout of women workers in U.S. history. Please stop reading. Find activity 5 in the tub. For this activity, you will pretend that you are writing a letter to Clara. What are some questions you would like to ask her? How do you think she felt through all this? Is there anything you want clarification on? When you are finished with this activity, please place it in the purple folder and resume the recording. Please pause the recording and complete the activity now.
You should have completed Activity 5. If you have, continue on to the reading of Brave Girl. Please turn the page. The next morning, New York City is stunned by the sight of thousands of young women streaming from the factories. One newspaper calls it an army. Others call it a revolt. It's a revolt of girls, for some are only 12 years old, and the rest are barely out of their teens. In the coming weeks, Clara is called a hero. She lights up chilly union halls with her fiery pep talks. Her singing lifts the spirits of the picketers. When a group of thugs approaches, she yells, "Stand fast, girls!" Please stop reading. Now we will revisit activity number 1. Please find activity number 1. Look at your list of vocabulary words and which words you crossed out or circled. Were your predictions correct? Was immigrant in the story? Did it make sense to be in the story? Why or why not? How about the others? Now find activities 6 and 7 in the tub. You will choose one of these activities to complete. For activity 6, write 3 original sentences, each using at least 2 of the vocabulary words provided. Your words are immigrant, grit, tenement, garment, inspect, union, seamstress, and revolt. For activity 7, you will complete the vocabulary foursquare. Starting at the top right box, write in 1 vocabulary word. Your choices are immigrant, grit, tenement, garment, inspect, union, seamstress, and revolt. You should then write down the definition of the word, draw a picture of the word, and use the word in a sentence. When you are finished with one of the activities, please place it in the purple folder and resume the recording. Please pause the recording and complete one of the activities now.
You should have completed either activity 6 or 7. If you have, continue on to the reading of Brave Girl. Please turn the page. And they do, all winter long. In the bitter cold, in their cheap, thin coats, tired and starving and scared, the girls walk alongside the men on the icy sidewalks of the picket line. They spill out of the union halls, blocking the roads, filling street corners and public squares. Newspapers write stories about them. College girls raise money for them. Rich women, swathed in fur coats, picket with the factory girls. By the time the strike is over, hundreds of bosses agree to let their staff form unions. They shorten the work week and raise salaries. The strike emboldens thousands of women to walk out of garment factories in Philadelphia and Chicago. And the strike convinces Clara to keep fighting for the rights of workers. Her throat is hoarse, her feet are sore, but she has helped thousands of people, proving that, in America, wrongs can be righted, warriors can wear skirts and blouses, and the bravest hearts may beat in girls only 5 feet tall. Please stop reading. Find activities 8 and 9 in the tub. You will be completing one of the activities. For activity 8, number the following events from 1 to 8 in the order in which they happened in the story, 1 being first and 8 being last. For activity 9, think about Clara's background, education, family, and beliefs. She studied very hard in school, earned money by working in a clothing factory, learned a new language, and much more. How is Clara's life similar or different to your own? Brainstorm and record your ideas on the T-chart. An example has been provided for you. When you have finished one of the activities, place them in the purple folder and close your book. Thank you for listening.